Welcome to College Volleyball Weekly on volleyballmag.com, powered by P1440. Thanks for clicking or tapping in. Now here's your host, Rob Espero, also known as Rob on the Mic.
Hey, we're here at College Volleyball Weekly. I'm Rob on the mic, and taking some time with us this week is BYU Head Coach, number 2 team in the nation, the BYU Cougars. Thanks for taking your time out this day to talk about the team.
Yeah, thanks a ton for having me and for all you do for, college volleyball in general. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Hey, first question for you. First ever visit to North Carolina for the BYU squad. Can you give us some of your thoughts on that trip?
Yeah, hands down, one of the best road trips we've ever had. And it's the honest truth. BYU, we've got such a great support, throughout the country. We always have good support, but I think, for us to go to a place that we've never been, our volleyball program's never been, very few of our sports teams probably travel to that area. Just the energy from, obviously the tie-in with the LDS Church, the energy from the members, but they all came together. There was people that traveled from Pennsylvania, tons from Virginia, New York. I mean, people were traveling 5 to 6 hours, stayed in town that night to come to our game the next day. And it was a completely different energy that we even experience in venues, the Southern California venues where there's a lot of LDS Church members. They stuck around after the match. I made sure with with their head coach that it was okay that, hey, the fans came down and said hello. I wanted to make sure that was okay with him, or if he wanted us to go into the halls, but he was awesome, allowed us to take some cool pictures with all the fans. And honestly, it's a trip that I won't forget anytime soon. And we go to great places. We're going to Orange County this weekend. We go to Hawaii this year. But that was unlike any other road trip, and just the energy and excitement of our fans being there was so cool. And I think it's good for our game that if we have the ability to go and our administration supports us traveling to those locations, I think it's great for the sport. And that's how I looked at it. And their team, their staff, their administration, their school president was at the Saturday, we signed a ball, our team, and we did a little presentation before the match on Saturday, had a little banquet up there. They were just so gracious, so excited that we came out there, played their guys, and it was such a cool experience. What a cool experience.
Well, even the commentators on the live stream were commenting on how entertaining the crew was there. Just even they're bombing their jump serves, and like, oh my gosh! It's an Englishman. I won't try to make his accent.
Someone texted me today, and they said, "Oh, it was fun to watch your team this weekend." It was a friend of mine, and he's like that. He said it was a Scottish guy. I don't know. He said that Scottish guy was cracking me up all weekend. So I didn't, I don't listen to those feeds, but sounds like it was a good time. And they were really just, again, it was the excitement of everybody to be there. And we went on Friday night. A funny story. I took some of the guys. We did a little workout there in the hotel weight room. Then we went to Walmart because there really wasn't anything open in town to go get some food and some dinner. And we were there at like 9 p.m. at Walmart of all places, and there was nobody in the store. And all the employees were kind of following our guys around like, what are you guys doing here? Who are you guys? And you always get are you guys a basketball team? And, what is going on? And so it was just, it was fun. It was such a cool experience.
Awesome. Well, it definitely was a great event to see online because you could just feel the energy in the gymnasium. The crowd was loving the Gator clap for set and match points. And, and you could hear the oohs and ahs from Gabi and Davide bombing away. So it definitely is great for the sport. Knowing that is going to be a lopsided result, what do you feel, that trip symbolizes for your program and volleyball in general?
Yeah, I just, there's schools that are looking to build the sport. Last year, I don't know if you know that we actually hosted an event at BYU when we had Princeton, Hawaii, and McHenry in town. We had 5 or 6 athletic directors and some school presidents from kind of the South come out to BYU. They were working with Wade and Motor VB and doing some presentations. And so the ability for us to grow forward, yeah, lopsided in talent, but honestly, Ali's done a pretty nice job. He's got some good athletes on that team.
Yeah.
He's got some athletes on that team. He's had to go overseas to find some kids, but, you know, he's doing his best. He has no support, no assistant coaches, and he's grinding away, doing all that he can. But I felt like you can look at it a couple different ways. Hey, we wanted an opportunity for some other guys to play. You always look for those opportunities because in men's volleyball, there a lot of times, you know the level. There's not many of those opportunities where we can do that. And so for us, I also looked at it as also, though, for our fans, I knew beforehand there was a handful that were coming to see. And there was people that they watch BYU TV, they see our production. So they were like looking forward, like I get to finally see Gabi play. I get to see Davide play. I get to see these kids play. So there was a lot of that involved where we kept those guys on the floor, and then we made some subs and in different times, started some sets with a different lineup. But again, one of the cooler experiences was a kid that came up to me after and came up to each of the guys after Saturday. He was there Friday and Saturday, and he says, man, Coach, I can't tell you thanks enough. He wasn't even an LDS church member. He just said, I see you guys on BYU TV. I watch every volleyball game. And finally, I could see these guys live, and I get to meet them. And it's just those moments that were so cool. And so it was good for us to allow those guys to continue to play. And they did well, and they benefited from that and got some reps. And we were able to get some guys other opportunities as well. But I kind of looked at it from that point of view.
Wow. Well, let's talk about your team this year. You know, one of the things that caught my ear in one of the BYU TV broadcasts from Jerome and Steve was I'd heard that, you know, the 2019 season, 13-12, 6-6 in MPSF, and your team had considered that as one of the worst seasons on record for the Cougars. And as long as I've known the Cougars, you've been a powerhouse. You know, the stats, you know, the record column doesn't show it, but it's always a very competitive team. Now you've come out of the gate in 2020, 6-0 with an excellent start. Has anyone's performance surprised you to get you to this point this season so far?
You know, Will unfortunately had an injury last year where that really kind of took a toll on our team. And you know, I hear from everybody and heard the same things you're saying, where hey, powerhouse and one of the quote unquote worst seasons. And, you know, those things kind of took a toll on the rest of the guys. And Brody did his best to come in and play his part as best he could. And we had a handful of other injuries last year that we were trying to grind through. But Will's done a really nice job, you know, kind of taking that leadership. He's always been a good, you know, kind of leader on our team. But he, throughout the summer, did a really, really nice job, you know, keeping the guys around that were around in town, keeping those things, those events, the workouts organized, and kind of leading from the front, his rehab after his surgery, getting back. And so he's kind of found his own little place. He's improved in all the parts of his game. And so, you know, Gabi and Davide's done a really nice job, and he came back even stronger from a summer of working out in Italy. You know, he got to play on some different levels of their national teams, and so he made some good strides and got good experience over the summer. And for those guys that can get that international experience, whether it's in the USA gym or going to their, you know, we have a bunch of foreigners, and so going back to their respective countries and getting those reps, and Gabi too. So in terms of the you know, someone that maybe wasn't as recognizable last year, not as much. You know, there's guys that are playing that are doing a nice job. Taylon's coming in. He's a freshman. He's doing a really good job, and he's going to see more and more minutes. And but kind of the stalwarts have been here, but did a lot of work in the off season to, you know, come back from that season that they had last year. That although they're young, you know, it's just BYU's maybe not accustomed to, you know, and that's kind of one of the things that being a great program is people get comfortable with the success, and you know,
the high expectation factor.
you and I both know that there's a lot of things that go into it. So the guys have really embraced that, and they've done a nice job in the off-season workouts and now into the start of the season. But again, the season's so young, and I try to constantly talk about that. And the guys have really seemed to be picking up on that, hey, this is we're in this thing for the long haul. So let's prepare accordingly and kind of move forward accordingly.
You know, one of the things, or a couple of players that have stuck out this year, and obviously seeing BYU as long as I have, had a history, a rich tradition of just lethal pin attackers. You had Ben Patch and Taylor Sander on the same team at one point. I'm like, hello.
And Irvine knocked them off in the national final, in the national championship.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No. I remember I was there. I was coaching the women's team, but I was there. I flew out to UCLA for that match. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the same potential this year, and you'd mentioned or alluded to Davide and Gabi. I got to see Gabi in the NORCECA Continental Championships, and he has elevated his play even from those championships. What's been the catalyst for Davide and Gabi to be so successful at this point of the season?
I think both those guys kind of look back at last year, and sitting down with both of them at the end of last season, kind of, just left. They felt that they could have done more, even though when you're young, it's hard for some kids to find their role on a team in terms of leadership wise right out of the gates.
Right.
But I think those guys really saw over the course of last season that, hey, young, being a freshman or sophomore, there's a lot of people looking up to you, especially on the team. And there's a lot of guys that are really looking to them for guidance. And so I think they went through that growth over, from the end of last season into this off season, because both of them came back better conditioned, right from the start. And especially Davide, he came back from Italy, and you're always a little worried about how they're going to acclimate to coming back into our conditioning program. They're doing it elsewhere, and guys can always say, hey, I'm lifting weights, I'm working out, but you and I both know that it's better with your strength and conditioning coach that they're going to be with, and someone to monitor entirely. But Davide, from the gates, from our first conditioning test, I was blown away, and he got acclimated right immediately to the altitude factor when we did some running things, some aerobic stuff, and he never looked back. He was a leader of the pack from the first conditioning we did. And so I think those guys, sometimes you analyze tough moments a lot more than you analyze success, and you can grow from that. That's what I believe, because a lot of times with success or winning, you don't take as much time to process everything, and so I think they processed a lot more and kind of just filled out, began to fit better into their role as leaders on the team, and have taken kind of on that mantra.
Well, it's a great group of pin hitters you've got on your squad this year. Got to ask you though, obviously it's always competitive D1-2 volleyball, and we're seeing that competition result in extended matches, some big upsets. So for Coach Olmstead, whom do you see are potential Final Four teams come the May?
Well, I don't know. I've been on these committees where you're not allowed to vote. There's voting restrictions, but obviously that's a goal of our guys. I'd be lying to you if we didn't say that that's something we've discussed. We're not talking about it nonstop because I think it's a long season, and we believe we talk about daily that, hey, if we can improve and get to our potential, we believe we're going to be in a good spot to be competitive for one of those spots. And so I like what I've seen. Hawaii, Charlie's got those guys going again. They've got some great leadership on their team. I like the energy of their team. We were able to go play Lewis, and I think the world of Dan. And I left that match, us winning that match, telling my staff, like, hey, that's a team that I think is going to be there at the end. They've just got all the pieces, I believe, and they're only going to get better, going through the season and going through practices and making the adjustments. And and learning more about themselves. That's kind of where we all grow. And so that's another team. And then beyond that, there's some dark horse. I like what I've seen out of Princeton. I mean, look at what Sam's done with that team. And
right.
so, I think it's going to be a dogfight. Men's volleyball, isn't it always that? It's going to come down to the end. And everyone, I think there's a handful of teams in 6, 7, and maybe up to 8 that are going to have a shot to get to where they need to be by the end of April to be competitive and put themselves in a position to compete.